3, 2, 1. You ready?
Listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, gays, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple, and this is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're all having a great weekend, whenever you're listening to this. I apologize for sounding a little weird, but I'll get to that in a second. So I've got a breakdown for the Ryan Coogler film, a little movie we have coming out in November called Wakanda Forever. Of course, the sequel to Black Panther. So to put everything out on Front Street, I have not been subtle on my love for the MCU. I admit that to an extent, Phase 4 has been a mixed bag, but I'm still digging what Marvel's doing. But the movie I was the most concerned with that was coming out this year was Wakanda Forever, because, hearing about the, with things happening with COVID, and Letitia Wright thinking masks were terrible, and the whole vaccine controversy with her, like Ryan Coogler. He's one of my favorite directors working in the game right now. I mean, of course, Black Panther, but of course he did Fruitvale Station, as well as Creed. And the guy just, when you think about black directors, you think Jordan Peele, you think your Queen Ava's, you think Coogler, but he's one of the best directors working, period. And, sorry, I'm going to try really hard not to cry again. But this movie has so much to live up to. It has to address the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Marvel came out, and said that they weren't going to recast T'Challa, and I've talked about on the podcast about if that's the right decision or not. And I understand how people feel about T'Challa being recast, because there's so many Black Panther stories with T'Challa that you just lose by not doing that. But at the same time, after watching this trailer, I went, yeah, I think it's like, I don't even want to say it's the right decision, but I think they can make this decision work. That's the way I'll put it, because I don't know. I mean, if you recast T'Challa, you still have access to his stories, and, I'm sure Coogler could make those work too, but given the emotional nature and how we lost Chadwick, I understand why Coogler and Marvel made this choice. But let's get into the actual trailer. Again, I'm gonna try to get through this without crying. But first off, oh God, I'm sorry. I'm a little scatterbrained here. But let me back up a little bit. I think this trailer. Say what you will about Marvel. If you're not a fan, you're not a fan. But one thing that Marvel has been excellent at, whether it's the first trailer, the teaser trailer for Civil War, the teaser trailer for Black Panther, the teaser trailer for, what else? For Falcon and Winter Soldier. Marvel has really excelled at teaser trailers, or the first look trailer, we'll just call it. The Ant-Man one is fucking excellent. I remember in particular. But let's call it what it is. None of us knew what to expect from this trailer. And I've talked about it here on other reviews for Marvel films in Phase 4 that I was terrified about what this movie was going to look like, because with COVID affecting things, and I'll get into how this affects my Black Panther pick in just a moment, but Ryan Coogler was dealt a fuck of a hand. I mean, obviously we lost Chadwick Boseman a couple years ago. Still something that I will say as a critic, I'm not over, because after watching Ma Rainey's, I talked about the fact that Chadwick clearly had another gear and had so many more performances and incredible gifts to give us as an audience, and to see him taken from us so early, it's not fucking fair. It's really not. And it angers me that he's still not around, and that we're getting a Black Panther film without him. It fucking bums me out. And obviously, if you're a director, if you're Coogler and you have to navigate that incredible loss, what the hell do you do? And that brings me to Letitia Wright. So I have talked about on other recordings about how much the pandemic just hurt me in general as a person. I still believe that we all pretty much have PTSD after lockdown, after the pandemic, and just the amount of shit we've all gone through over the last couple of years. But being a content creator in particular, I'm lucky enough to have a lot of friends in the community, and just the conversations I've had with content creators, small scale, big scale, those conversations about having to put out content and, trying to kind of push through the stress and the depression and the grind and everything to provide your audience with content. I can't even imagine what Ryan Coogler was thinking or has been thinking, given the fact he directed one of the most profitable films of all time in Black Panther. He loses his star. He's got Letitia Wright, who, if you've read the comics, Shuri would be the most logical next in line to take on the mantle of the Black Panther. But I would not be surprised at all if after all those tweets that Letitia Wright put out and talking about how the vaccine's a sham and all this crap and how you don't need to wear masks and talking to the crew about that, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Coogler went, yeah, fuck you. I'm not going to go ahead and elevate your status by making you the new Black Panther, which I'm going to kind of jump around on this trailer. But what I think they're going to do, and I've talked about this before as well, and people who work in the MCU have confirmed it. Marvel lies. Marvel lies a lot. Marvel lies all the fucking time. I always go back to the first trailer for Infinity War, where they show that shot of Captain America, Hulk, Black Panther all running towards the screen in Wakanda. That never happens in the fucking movie, and the Russos and Feige even admitted that we go ahead and we put shots in trailers to go ahead and throw fans off the scent. So I would in no way, shape, or form be surprised if the very last shot in the trailer is a total misdirect, because, and I have a narrative reason why as well. Winston Duke is an incredible actor. If you haven't seen, most of us have seen Us by now. If you haven't seen the other movie I'm about to reference, 9 Days, which he stars in, that was one of my favorite films of, was that last year? I believe that was last year. One of my favorite films of last year. Fucking love 9 Days. Winston Duke's star is on the rise. He's incredibly fun in interviews. He's charitable. He's charming. He's a thick, handsome black man. Remind you of anyone? And honestly, I think it's his time. Obviously, the circumstances for this are horrible, but that last shot in the trailer feels so much like a misdirect, because let's be real. If you put a picture of M'Baku from the back view in the Black Panther suit as the to quote the thirst tweet about Winston Duke, M'Baku thick. If we if we saw his ass in the Black Panther suit, we'd immediately go, oh, fucking M'Baku is going to be the next Black Panther. And this feels like something Marvel wants to play close to the vest and actually let the audience experience all of the emotions leading up to who the new leader of Wakanda is going to be. So, I've talked about how I thought Okoye would be a great substitute. Again, if it's Shuri, I trust Ryan Coogler because he's Ryan Coogler and he knows what the fuck he's doing with Wakanda. If it's Shuri, obviously, I'm sure he'll make it work. But I'm gonna plant my goal. I'm gonna plant my flag. I think it's Winston Duke, and I believe everything leading up to Wakanda Forever is going to be as much of a misdirect as humanly possible to go, it's not Winston Duke, it's not M'Baku, it's a woman. I think it's going to be M'Baku, because not only because of the fact I just want it to be him, but when you think about the whole context, not the whole context, but the whole conflict between M'Baku's people and T'Challa's, this is another way to go ahead and mend that bridge and make them feel more together, make them feel more united. Obviously, they kind of crushed the beef at the end of Black Panther, and we see T'Challa refer to M'Baku, as a brother. in Infinity War when they fight alongside each other. But this is another way to bridge that gap. And I think that Coogler, from a narrative perspective, is going to go, okay, yeah, let's do that. So I'm calling it right now. M'Baku's going to be the new Black Panther. Yes. Go M'Baku, go Winston Duke. But I digress. So, all right, let's get into this trailer. One of the things that I immediately noticed about the trailer that just made me go, holy crap. The shots in this trailer. This looks like I don't want to say an upgrade, but the way it's shot, it's very Planet Earth. I love the way that this already is shot. And you really feel the sense of loss. You feel Chadwick in this trailer. As the audience, obviously, a lot of people will compare this to something like Furious 7, where, of course, Paul Walker passed before the film could be completed. And I will just say right now, I do not think in any way, shape, or form they're exploiting Chadwick Boseman, because I've already seen that bullshit online. People are going, oh my God, why are they talking about Chadwick? Why are they killing T'Challa? Why aren't they recasting him? And I think for me, after I watched this trailer, because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, because obviously when Chadwick passed, that was one of the first things that people brought up was, okay, what happens to Black Panther? Holy shit. And for me, yes, you could have recast T'Challa. You could have had a variant of T'Challa come in. You could have brought Killmonger back. I mean, that you could have done that. I don't think that really allows the fan base to grieve. This trailer, after watching it several times, I really feel like Marvel's making the right decision by not recasting T'Challa. Again, I won't begrudge people for saying, how do I want to put this? I won't begrudge people for wanting to have T'Challa recast, but what I would say is don't be a dick about it, because the amount of people who are going, Marvel's doing a disservice to black people because they're not get the fuck over yourself, all right? This is a sensitive situation, a situation that good and goddamn well Coogler doesn't want to be a part of, because, and that's not including all the fucking delays and everything. I'm sure Coogler has spent a lot of sleepless nights, working on this and thinking about what the right decision is. And I'm sure Feige, I'd love to ask Kevin Feige, like, how confident are you in your decision? Because he flat out said that we won't recast T'Challa, but does he feel the same way now? Like, as a person of color, obviously I just want to talk to Kevin Feige, but I would love to talk to Feige about that and really ask him how that decision came to pass, because there had to have been an insane amount of conversation behind the scenes discussing and debating on, what you do. I would literally love to talk to him about that. One thing I do want to point out as well, the shot at the 21-second mark of Shuri, of course played by Letitia Wright, not wearing a mask here, shocker. But this whole shot and the way that everyone's dressed in white, clearly, observing King T'Challa's passing, it takes me back to Civil War, where King T'Chaka gets killed, and he talks about how death is not the end, but it's simply a stepping off point. And that in particular, the way that echoes now in particular is just crazy haunting, but also beautifully poetic when you think about it. It makes me wonder, and it makes me hope, time to get super nerd now, it makes me hope that we're going to get to see Necropolis in the MCU. For those of you who don't know, that's the Wakandan version of the City of the Dead, where all the previous Black Panthers are buried. But one thing that I believe it was actually Tanisha Coates who went ahead and introduced this for the first time. The current Black Panther is able to go ahead and actually draw from the strength, knowledge, and experience of the past Black Panthers, which is something that you could use so easily to go ahead and inform the new Black Panther. So I'm really hoping we get that appearance here for the first time in Wakanda Forever. Another little fun fact that Necropolis actually acts as a home base of operations for the Illuminati in the comics, who were introduced, of course, in Multiverse of Madness, or at least a version of them. So a little foreshadowing, perhaps. I believe Wakanda is going to be, and I talked about this in our Falcon and the Winter Soldier review, I believe Wakanda is going to be insanely important moving forward, especially as we head to Secret Wars, because when we think about Wakanda, they've really started to have a pretty big hold on things in the MCU. When we think about just Falcon and the Winter Soldier, how, our current Captain America, yes, he is Captain America, you racist fuckers, Sam Wilson, his suit is from Wakanda, Bucky, aka White Wolf, called in that favor. So the fact that America literally is represented by Wakanda is pretty crazy, which takes me to the part in the trailer, I think it's around the minute 3 mark, where we see people in uniform lowering these very Avatar looking suits underwater. And the shot in particular that I want to bring up is the 105 mark. So that looks very military. Obviously, they've got the soldier has the camera on his head, but the way he has that woman held, it's like Wakanda has retinal scans to go ahead and maybe get into certain places of Wakanda. And let's be real, would it be off base to think that the U.S. government would try to go ahead and stir the pot between Atlantis and Wakanda and go ahead and maybe mine for vibranium there, or go ahead and steal natural resources? I mean, it is America. We kind of have a track record of that. So that shot in particular made my skin crawl in the best way, because Ryan Coogler, and I mean this in the best way, clearly doesn't give a fuck about who he offends. He's out to tell his story, and that is a incredibly haunting shot when you think about the diplomacy that's supposed to exist, supposedly, but clearly fucking doesn't. Now to go back to the very beginning of the trailer, the music, and I've talked about how incredible the Marvel trailers have been, especially when it comes to the music that they use. Using Run the Jewels, of course, for the first Black Panther teaser trailer. It's still probably the teaser trailer that's got me the most hyped. Like, I remember just watching that going, holy shit, I'm ready for Black Panther. Going from No Woman, No Cry and mixing it seamlessly around the 54-second mark into Everybody's Gonna Be Alright, Kendrick Lamar's classic off of To Pimp a Butterfly. Apparently Kendrick is back doing the music, which, thank fucking God. They keep Kendrick doing anything Black Panther he wants, because I've talked about the soundtrack of Black Panther and how brilliant it is, and Ludwig's incredible score. Please let them keep doing Black Panther. If they just want to keep doing Black Panther only and not touch any other MCU properties, fucking awesome. Totally fine with that. Just let them keep doing this. Please, oh please, oh please. But of course, the big thing that the internet has talked about with this trailer, it looks like, of course, Queen Ramonda is taking over as queen now. Of course, played by the amazing Angela Bassett. And, again, the whole internet's already talked about it. We've had our cry moment, but I am not prepared yet to hear her say, I'm queen of the most powerful nation in the world and my entire family is gone. That line in particular. And then you think about the follow-up where she goes, have I not given everything? And she's 1,000% right. And when you think about Black culture and how we've lost so much just through, the annals of time. I've talked about how, the Ancestry.com and sites like that piss me the fuck off, because so much of our history can't be recovered, and yet people have that luxury and don't even really really take it for granted. Having her say that line in particular not only speaks to me as a person of color, but also from the MCU narrative perspective. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I feel like we're going to learn that Queen Ramonda survived the blip, and Shuri and, of course, T'Challa, we know, were lost to the blip because of Thanos' snap. That's a storyline. It's a small little thing, but that really is a simple thing you can do to hammer home the loss even more, because the concept of Queen Ramonda losing her son to this fucking monster and then getting him back only to lose him again. That is fucking tragic. And I really do hope Coogler and his team decide to go that route and go ahead and, take advantage of that story narrative. Because I think that would actually elevate the loss, but go ahead and add to the story as well. Moving on, I'm very curious about Everett Ross. Of course, Martin Freeman coming back and playing him again. He slowly earned the trust of T'Challa and the rest of Wakanda, and obviously helped Killmonger's forces from escaping Wakanda with that vibranium. I don't know, y'all. Like, Everett Ross, if you've read the comics, he is known to switch alliances. He's not always a good guy. So the fact we only get a little glimpse of him, I could see him being more important to the plot than maybe even we realize right now. And who's to say he's not a catalyst for things going wrong? So I'm not sold on this whole concept that Martin Freeman's Ross is here to help Wakanda. He could be there to help infiltrate it, because again, we're getting to the whole political aspect of it, which is why Angela Bassett being Queen Ramonda this time around has me so intrigued. I could easily see the diplomacy and all of the U.S., the United Nations stuff kind of breaking down, and the U.S. using that as an advantage. And who's to say the U.S. doesn't go, hey, you've kind of earned their trust, let's go ahead and send you into Wakanda. So don't immediately jump to the conclusion that just because Everett Ross is back that he's here to help Wakanda. He may not be. So now I gotta talk about my girl. I gotta talk about Riri Williams, who's played by Dominique Thorne. I am so happy we're getting Riri Williams here. So the interesting thing is that in the comics, she is I believe she's 15 in the comics when we meet her. She has an incredibly genius intellect. Very similar to Shuri. She is at MIT when she's 15, and she goes ahead and reverse engineers some of Iron Man's old armor from a box of scraps. Sorry, but she goes ahead and reverse engineers the suit and becomes Ironheart in the comics. And so, as I believe I said this in my Miss Marvel review, I might have said it during my Endgame review. I can't remember. I've definitely said it at least a couple times here on the show. When they confirmed that Riri Williams would be making her debut here, my whole thought was just say that she's studying abroad, that she got some scholarship or internship while she's at MIT to go ahead and get her to Wakanda. And I feel like that's the route they're probably going to go here. It's a simple way to just go, yep, here we go. This is why she's here. What I appreciate is that we get the shot of her between her and Shuri where, they hit the rock, very reminiscent to T'Challa going to Shuri's lab the first time we see it, at least in Black Panther. Later on in the trailer, I absolutely love the shot of at the 133 mark, exactly mirroring Tony Stark in the cave in the original Iron Man. Riri Williams going ahead and making I'm gonna say a very Mark 1, probably very bulky version of her armor. So what I think we'll probably see, one of those mech suits that we saw earlier in the trailer that the government or whomever is using to explore the ocean floor. I think Wakanda or Riri herself will go ahead and get in possession of one of those, and she'll go ahead and she'll make her own makeshift armor, because this is very old school looking as far as how she's hammering the heart out, even very clearly not using Wakandan tech. I think that's how we're going to go ahead and get her first version of the armor, because why would you debut her, her prime armor in a Black Panther movie? I think there's going to be quite a bit that Coogler and his team is handling, but having Riri Williams, just a makeshift version of her armor in that last battle potentially would be fucking badass. So I'm gonna call that right now, but absolutely love the fact we're getting her, and I think she's gonna be in the movie a little more than we think. I'm not gonna say she'll be in most of it, but I think she'll be in it for more than 5 minutes. I think she'll be in it for more on the 15-minute mark or so. All right, a couple other things I want to throw out. Early on in the trailer, when we see the throne room at the 34-second mark, apparently that says "Rest in power, King T'Challa, our hero. It was an honor. Rest in power." Which I know people online are already saying this. I'm going to be taking a box of tissues with me to see this movie. And I've already told my partner, be prepared for me to be crying because I'm not going to be okay watching this movie. This is going to be emotional. And I almost might go later at night just so I can feel a little less shitty about crying in front of a theater full of people because I cried during the first Black Panther when the Marvel Studios logo came up because of the incredible representation that I knew I was about to behold and the great movie that I had a feeling I was about to witness. And it wasn't a great movie. It was an amazing experience. Just the emotion attached to this, I'm not going to be okay. I'm really not. And I'm already just like, oh God, okay. I'm sure people have made this comparison. Actually, I know people have made this comparison. The way the underwater stuff is shot is absolutely fucking amazing. Like, it actually weirdly makes me more hyped for Avatar, even though I know I'll care about this movie way fucking more than the new Avatar movie. But the way at the 55-second mark, how we see the Atlanteans holding onto on the whale there as it swims underwater, you can very much tell in the way that Wakanda is very much at peace with the world and the land around it. Atlanteans are very much at peace with the ocean that they go ahead and inhabit. And I really like the way they're kind of drawing those parallels between Wakanda and Atlantis this early on. A couple other quick things I just want to point out in the trailer that I noticed or that I really appreciated. The shot at the 109 mark of Atlantis, of the throne room in Wakanda covered in water and in fire is a haunting fucking shot. Like, that shot gave me chills alone. But what it reminds me of too is the Avengers vs. X-Men event where the Phoenix Force, which takes over Namor, goes ahead and goes fuck Wakanda and goes ahead and decides to flood it. And we actually see a flood of that later on at the minute 41 mark, which is, again, a haunting shot of just seeing Wakanda covered in water like that. I love that. I love the way that this film already looks. Oh gosh, what else do I want to throw out? The shot at the 150 mark of Namor descending. Looks like he's gonna become king of Atlantis here in the movie, but seeing him descend to the throne like that shot is so cool. I love that shot. One of the more underrated shots in the trailer, and I'm trying to find the timestamp for it, but it really does feel like, as I mentioned with earlier, how they're trying to draw comparisons between Wakanda and between Atlantis. And there is this shot in the trailer of a mural in Atlantis, and it feels very much like the mural is very leaning, more on the religious side. Again, to go ahead and draw comparisons in the way that Wakanda goes ahead and, worships the Panther goddess Bast. I'm very curious how Atlantis is going to kind of explain who they worship, and what they're all about. I'm really curious for them to go ahead and get into the mythology of Atlantis. And then the last thing the last couple things I'll throw out. At the minute 32 mark, we get our first look of Namora, who's played by Mabel Cadena. And I love the fact that she has her, if you read Marvel Comics, you know that rebreathers are a thing. And so that allows Atlanteans to go ahead and breathe on land. The thing that's interesting is that looks like a Tuma. The reason that character is important is because at multiple points during Marvel canon, he tries to go ahead and overthrow Namor to become king himself, kind of similar to Killmonger in that way. So I'm curious if Namor's going to kind of get ahead of himself, think, he might have Wakanda on the ropes. Then he goes ahead and gets taken over or, knocked down a peg. And then he has to perhaps team with the Wakandans to go ahead and, take down some of these Atlanteans. So I'm curious how that's going to go. But showing him in the first trailer, I find very, very interesting. The last thing I will throw out is that we have, I'm going to say Ayo. I'm going to go Ayo, who's played by Florence Kasumba, who of course was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She was the one that looks like had a little bit of a thing with Bucky, which, good for Bucky, doesn't discriminate. And Michaela Cole, who plays Anika. So what's interesting about them at the minute 51 mark, we see them, but in the comics, in Tanisha Coates' run of Black Panther, Akina clearly in this trailer, and I'm trying to find the timestamp, but they're wearing what's called the Midnight Angel armor, and I don't really want to get into what that's about. I'll let you kind of Google that yourself, because it does become important later on. I don't think that's an accident. So if I'm going to do a bit of a cheat. I do believe that Winston Dukes Mbaku is going to go ahead and become the new Black Panther. However, if you were to throw a curveball and not have it be Okoye, not have it be Shuri, not have it be Nakia, it could be Anika. It legit could be Anika being the new Black Panther. So that's going to be my pull Charlie Day wild card. That's going to be my wild card pick. If it's not Winston Dukes Mbaku, I think it'll be Anika. I find it very interesting that she's in that armor specifically. So I don't know. I'm just kind of trusting my gut here, but yeah, I think that's very telling. I think Anika is going to be a pretty prominent character in this movie in particular. But yeah, y'all, that's all I noticed from the trailer. Those are my thoughts. What did you think of the Wakanda Forever trailer? Did you cry when you watched it? I cried for about 45 minutes the first time I saw it, because I actually passed out right before Marvel's Hall H presentation. Woke up around 8 o'clock and I had 14 text messages and messages from people going, have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet? So I understand that people are hyped for this. I can't wait for November. I cannot wait to see this fucking movie. But yeah, talk to me, people. Have you seen the trailer? Did you cry? What did you think of it? What did you notice in the trailer that had you excited? Let us know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearman1st. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcast, TuneUp, at The Real Pineapple. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch as well at twitch.tv/JHunterRealPineapple. That again is REEL Pineapple. When I hop on Twitch at some point, I'm going to do it. I promise. I'll definitely let y'all know. But to stay up to date on the show, go ahead and follow both our pages on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. That again is REEL Pineapple, and Real Pineapple Games. Again, REEL Pineapple. And you can follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam. And you can follow me on TikTok at Black Shazam 775. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. We're going to have reviews up here soon for League of Super Pets, which we'll see how it is. It could be good, as well as a Bullet Train. And coming up this next week, I think I'm going to finally have a review, or our first edition of the Weekly Slice. I'm going to go ahead and actually start putting that out for y'all every Saturday. Just wrapping up the news for the week and talking about my thoughts on it and everything. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your continued support. Please stay safe out there. Wear your mask. Get your booster if you haven't. Tell someone you love them today. We all need to hear. We all need to hear that more. I'm over here on the West Coast, so if you're in a area where the fires are hitting this time of year, please stay safe out there. Take care of yourself, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.